Okay, now we're at the last section. The question is, where can you check the facts that you see or people tell you? This is kind of hard. One thing I didn't put up here is if you have an expert you trust, someone who really has expertise, like you would for a doctor. For example, if you hear, every time I watch the evening news, it's very clear to see who they're pitching the evening news. This is the television news, because it's the people our age. Every ad deals with some medical ailment and a new pill they're trying to push. I get so upset, and it's not just the pens, and but if I looked at I want you to buy Zorbiturf to take care of whatever, I'd call my doctor. I'd say, I saw this thing about Zorbiturf. What do you think? And I trust my doctor as an expert saying, no, I don't think you ought to take it. You ought to take this generic, or don't take it at all. All right. So we always go to experts as the first thing. If you have a legal problem, you get in a car crash, you're not going to go to your next door neighbor and say, oh, what should I do? You're going to call your lawyer, if there's a litigation involved. And if you don't like him, you're going to find, or her, you're going to find a better lawyer. And so we do it all the time. Go to some experts who you trust. Not that they may be 100% right, but that's what we normally do. But you can do other reality checks. So for a bit of TV on reality checking, and I'm playing to the audience here.
These are $2,000 winners John and Lorraine Burns. Yesterday, when we ran out of time, they were competing with dress designer Lucille Rivers and Zoom curator Carl Campbell for a salary of $500 a day on Who Do You Trust? Now, here's the star of our show, Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson. That was his first show. Who do you trust? Okay. I thought that was kind of cool. Here's one that you trust. This is great. This has saved my behind any number of times. And when I've got myself in trouble, my wife, Betty, gets on my case and says, why didn't you go to Snopes? Here's an example. One of my daughters was out of job. She's a fashion designer in New York. For those who know my daughters, it's Esther. And we're desperate. We're paying her rent in New York and all we're going to do. And I got this thing on the web. It looked like it came from the LA Times. It looked wonderful. And it says, easy way to make money through Google. You click on this and you sign up and you can enter data into Google. They always need people to enter the data in there and you can make money. So I said, this sounds pretty good. I sent it to Betty. Yeah, right. Sent it to Betty. I sent it to Esther. Betty hits Snopes. Esther goes, wow, what a great idea. Boom. In goes our credit card and everything. Okay, so then Betty calls me up and says, did you go to Snopes? I said, no. I said, this is a scam. Really? Oh, I told Esther. Hey, Esther, did you do anything? Yeah, put our credit card in. She had our credit card. Oh, okay, well, let's see what happens. Well, let me tell you, we have to change our credit card. Snopes is incredible. It's the oldest fact-checking internet site regarded by journalists, folklorists, laypersons as one of the world's essential resources. This is by multiple sources that say this is an essential resource for the internet world. It's completely independent and it's self-sufficient. So let's go to Snopes and take a look at it. Have you ever seen Snopes?
Who funds it?
They said that people, they have independent funding and they list all the funders, and it's not political. So what can we see here? There's a lot of politics. Let's see, let's do something that's not political here. Okay, upstate New York murder-suicide. Is that linked to the Las Vegas mass shooting? 2 disreputable websites seized on tragic events. And then they go through and they go through a complete analysis. And they say it's false. And they give all the sites and you can go in and check it out. It's really terrific. And they, let's see what else. Let's see what they say about climate change. Since we're talking science here. I want to stay with the politics. I'll just put climate change. I have it in the handout. Oops. Typing.
He's a scientist.
You got to see my math. Okay, so you can search on that. Did Donald Trump remove the terms LGBT and climate change from the White House website? Somebody claimed that. Okay. While President blah, 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 blah. Did he do it? Mix. Okay. The terms LGBT and climate change were absent from White House government. What's false? What's true? Okay. The majority was transferred to Obama at inauguration. The terms LGBT were not removed, but specifically removed by Donald Trump. So actually they're removed by the Obama administration. But the liberals claimed it was done by Trump. All right. Again, so on both sides, you see data, either false data or alternative data thrown out to try to get political purchase. And I've seen it on both sides, and Snopes will actually show both sides of the story in a very nice way. So that's one that I really like. Another one is factcheck.org, and this is through the Annenberg Public Policy Center. Again, an independent think tank that, from everything I've seen, is neither liberal nor conservative. And they mostly do fact checks that are political. And they are another one that I go to when I want to check facts. Snopes is everything. Scams, if you think there's a Ponzi scheme, someone's trying to get after, trying to sell you something as an elderly, as a senior citizen. What do you call it? What do we call ourselves now? Not elderly. Mature citizens. And come on, fact checking. Seasoned. And I'm new to that. I'm retiring now, so I have to figure out what I call myself. Why isn't that coming in? Let's try it again. The third one would be the Pew Charitable Trusts. I won't go on the website because it's late. And my daughter-in-law works there. But it's really great. They do terrific polling, and it's, again, independent. What about government agencies? There's some that I would argue are non-political and always fact-based. The United States Office of Accountability, in terms of the finances of this country, that's independent. NOAA, that's, of course, space. That's the Weather Bureau. They have to be impartial. They're not going to change the weather forecast for politics. The U.S. Geological Survey, as long as it remains, because it's under threat, always independent to almost a fault. National Institute of Health, I don't believe there's any political influence in that. NASA, I think, is you always go to NASA. And the Center for Disease Control. Obviously, these are independent, trustworthy sites. What about other government agencies? These are ones that are tied to politics. More or less. Doesn't mean it's all bad. The Corps of Engineers, obviously, is tied to politics, in terms of what they're going to design and how they're going to design it. Department of Energy can be tied to politics. And although they also have a lot of good databases on it. The EPA, terribly now, tied to politics. But it goes both ways. Sometimes it's very liberal, and they put on regulations that I think are nuts, and now it's going the opposite way, taking things off far too much. And then the New York Department of Health is highly political, and the DEC also can be very political. All state agencies are political. And they're governed by the administration at the time. It doesn't say that, I'm not saying that you don't trust it all, but you have to look at it with a little bit of skepticism. Now, what about newspapers and TV and so on? The Pew Trust came out with this figure. It's in your handout. And what they did is they did a wonderful poll where they rated the news media left to right, and at least a lot of it. And you can go to the site and you can read all the statistics and everything. They ran through it. Again, the Pew Trust is an amazing organization for real good polling and so forth. So you can see right in the middle, you have the Yahoo News and Wall Street Journal. And I've always felt the Wall Street Journal was very non-biased, although it's obviously geared for economics and so forth. Then NBC News, not MSNBC, but NBC News, CNN, and MSNBC. They're a bit to the left a little bit. If you want to go further to the left, BuzzFeed, PBS, BBC, Huffington Post, Washington Post, Economist, and Politico New Yorker and Slate way over on the left. Al Jazeera, they think is kind of to the left. NPR, The Guardian, The Daily Show, and the New York Times pretty far to the left. I find Al Jazeera a little more balanced when I read it, but on the right, you got the Fox News, the Drudge Report, Breitbart, Rush Limbaugh, The Blaze, Sean Hannity, and Glenn Beck. And so this is at least the Pew Trust appraisal of where the media falls in their bias. And I think they're probably pretty correct. I'm sorry. That they get it correct. That more often than not, you'll see a spin. Although I do think the BBC might be closer to the middle and I think MSNBC is a little bit further to the left. And Fox News might be a little more further to the right. So, again, you're dealing with this issue of trying to make sense out of the facts, and it now behooves all the citizens to go a little bit further. You don't have a Walter Cronkite telling you what might be right or wrong anymore. So I just blow that up a little bit. So the bottom line, last slide, modified from a wonderful statement by Donald Rumsfeld, who I really thought this was great. It's considered poetry now. And I just modified it a little bit. As we know, there are known facts. There are facts we know we know. We also know there are some facts we do not know. But there are also unknown facts we do not know. The facts we don't know, we don't know. And that sort of summarizes it. We'll never know perfectly, what reality is. I think we get pretty close. And I think we all, as engaged citizens, can make sense out of it. But it's going to take a little effort, more effort. You just can't accept carte blanche of what is said. Even in this document here, I would argue strenuously that part of this I don't agree with. All right, but a lot of it I do. All right, and so I'm going to leave it with that. Again, next time I'm going to be dressed differently. This is my professorial outfit. Next time we're going to talk about reality and reality TV and what is fact and what is fiction. And I'm going to focus mostly on the context of the Food Network. And there will be food served as well. So seriously. So it's a little enticement to come. All right. So thank you very much.